Good day, and welcome to another mission on your journey to mastering project management. In this mission, we're going to discuss the strategy stage. This is a challenging and a difficult stage for those who do not have good experience in project management, and especially we will not be getting into too much detail today. In the future quest, we will definitely need to spend a lot of time on a stage like this, especially for medium and large projects. But for small project, we will discuss briefly. So here we are. The strategy stage is kind of the sandwich, the term I used in the earlier mission, between the requirement and the definition stage. And I use the term strategy because it includes strategies and project management planning. Now, if it was a large major project, maybe the strategy section that I'll be discussing next could be shifted to the feasibility stage. In a way, we do touch on that in the feasibility stage when we talk about the class 1 estimate. We do get involved indirectly into the strategy aspect, but here we need to formalize the various aspects of the strategy stage. And notice there is gate 4. Like everything else and every other stage, there are gates, and this gate could have significance on medium to large projects, especially in the capital industry, which we will touch on at the end of this mission. The project management plan, which is the output, the product of this stage, is a formal approved document. Ideally, when we say the word formal, that means we need senior management to approve it or the sponsor to approve it, and will become a document that is on record. It can be quite simple for small, simple project, yet it can be extensive for medium to large project. On small project, ideally, this could be maybe a page or two. And large project, this could be hundreds of pages and require a lot of details, and we could have a large team working to manage those large projects, which add significant level of complexity. The project management plan is mostly about how to do something. So in this stage, we're gonna focus on how to, and then the how to relate to the upcoming stages, and then we will go into doing the work in the future stages. I know it's not right now, it might sound confusing. Just be patient for a minute. It would be easier if the organizational project management system. So basically, if the company or the organization you work with have an organizational project management process and system and procedures and guideline, OPM, and then obviously you can copy, paste, and modify. You can copy a project management plan from a similar project, and you just do some minor modification to fit the special need of the project, because project management plan could be quite generic. Definition, the project detail plan, which we will discuss in the next stage, and the actual scope of work could be hugely different because it's unique. However, the project management way of doing things, how you manage change, how you manage scope, how you manage schedule, how you develop the schedule, these are generic aspect and generic action that you can do. Now, as we highlighted above, it's a project management plan is a function of the project complexity, importance, and size. And if you recall earlier, in an earlier mission, we discussed project classification, and then our project classification model was based on size and complexity, if you recall. Now, the word how, in this case, it's probably you need to expand it and think out of the box. It includes who, when, what, where, all of this wonderful question. So the CAMMP project management plan, as we mentioned, it could be quite complex. And you can see, I'm sure many of you would probably be choking now to see all of these boxes. Relax. Again, if it's big, large project, you probably need 10 people to be doing all of this work. And if it's a small, simple project, you can probably do the whole thing in an hour or two. So take it step by step. The first step is the strategy section and include 6 items in it. And the strategy section is basically the following. What is the project lifecycle selection? So let's assume you work in an organization and you have different lifecycle model. You would want to go just select the one that is appropriate to your project. As simple as that. Pick and choose, like you go to a restaurant and you choose from the menu. I hope you're not very choosy and you end up spending an hour to just select your food. If you have a good project lifecycle methods in the organization, then you just select the one that is appropriate. And then you start asking other questions such as the PM strategy, which is how are you going to manage your project. Now, maybe it is important to highlight the difference between the word strategy and plan. Strategy would be more high level, kind of a vision kind of things, where a plan will be specific steps. So what's your PM strategy? Are you going to manage this project yourself? Or are you going to outsource the management? Or you're going to be relaxed? You're going to be strict? It's hard to explain all the detail here until we start working on specific projects. What's your delivery strategy? How are you going to deliver the project? Are you going to do it with internal resources or outsources again? If you are working on a larger project, are you going to use local procurement or international procurement, local vendors, contractors, or internationals, or global? Are you going to use joint venture? There are many questions that relate to delivery stage, which is how would you deliver the project? What will be your procurement strategy? What's your sustainability strategy? What are your best practices? Notice the term repeat. In the requirement, we talked about best practices. We talked about sustainability. But that was more to identify a requirement from the stakeholder. That is where you sit down with your management and your stakeholder to define what would be, for example, the sustainability requirement that they're looking for on the project. Here, you put the strategy to help you achieve those requirements that has been specified. The same thing with all of the other areas, the best practice, the delivery. Yeah, you start to answer questions here that would help you deliver to the requirement you defined already. Then we move to the how section, and that goes to the upcoming stages. If you notice, the first box says how to define the project. Now, I don't know if you made the link. The next stage is called definition stage. So basically, in simple term, the answer to this question is how are you going to complete the next stage? And when we say how, remember how, when, where, who. Yeah. Do you have enough resources to do it yourself? You're going to outsource. You're going to need a team you're going to collect from the different part of the organization. Are you going to use some kind of support? So that will be about the next stage. If I jump around a little bit here and then talk about how to get ready for operation, which is bottom left, which is, again, once you finish your project, remember if your project is a facility or something that require operation, maybe an HR system, a financial system, a website, whatever the case might be. What are the things you have to do to get ready for operation? I'm not going to go into too much detail. When we talk about this stage later, you probably better understand this project management plan. And how are you going to close your project? That's the bottom right. So basically what you have here, you have 3 boxes that are relating to specific phases. And then how to manage, how to control, and how to manage change are generic to all the stages that are upcoming, which is translating the strategy. For example, how to manage the project. This would be when you translate the strategy, the PM strategy, into specific actions and step. Then we move to the people section. And the people section, you start to define the people. Who are the members of your project management team? Maybe on a small project, it's only the project manager. Therefore, the answer to this box will be NA. Project manager is the project management team. Then you have the technical team. These are the people who will do the work. The technical resources, the subject matter expert that will be using, designer, engineers, coders, programmers, copywriter, marketing specialist. Whoever the type of resources, the technical people that will be doing technical work. What resources do you need? And maybe you don't get into the names if they are big project, but at least you define what you need in terms of resources. You visit the project stakeholder again. We have done this earlier. Now you will update it. And this will be a good time to define the communication protocol, communication strategy, and how would you communicate with all these people. Finally, there is a class 2 estimate. Remember, we recommend 3 estimate on a project. And if the project is small or simple, maybe you can skip this one and you do a class, the one with the definition stage. Or if the project is larger, it will be useful to do this estimate, which will be updated estimate from the one you did before, with a focus on costs and schedule. That's basically the animation I forgot to do. Now, why do we need a management plan or project management plan? Well, it is a live document, which means it's should be regularly updated as the project progress, depend on the changes and things that are happening on the project. But it's basically, in simple terms, it's a roadmap. Yeah, it is basically help you, guide you to implement and control the project from the beginning to the end. Just imagine you're going on a long trip, maybe multiple cities or multiple countries trip for many days or weeks. You have to define your road, assuming by car. You're going to have to define your trip, where you're going to go, how long it's going to take you, what are the risks you're going to face, how much money you need, how much time are you going to spend in each location. So basically, it's like a trip, you're planning a vacation. So you need to plan. If you don't plan, I'm sure you've heard the famous word that if you don't plan, you plan to fail. But this is focusing on management. So how are we going to manage the work? In this plan, you document your planning assumption. You can use it to talk and to facilitate stakeholder communication, because you can explain to them what you're doing and how you're going to plan to do it. If anybody have an objection, they can raise. You define the key management reviews, which is part of the communication part. How often are you going to meet with your management to review the progress and performance? And of course, you use it as a baseline, which is the most important things. A baseline is the term we use for an approved plan that can help us measure progress and allow us to determine, as the project continue to progress, how are we doing, and are we still going to be able to finish the project per the original plan and per the original objective that were defined earlier or not. So it become a roadmap, as we said. It guides us throughout this journey of a project. Finally, we get to the stage gate 4, which is the project management plan approval. And here, like everything else, we need whoever sit at those gates to approve the plan. Now, sometime on big project, there might be a need for some advanced funding, and that usually maybe where management can approve a small amount of the total cost to allow you to go to the next stage, because you might be going outsourcing with the next stage, and this where money start to be required significant. What are we trying to say here? Up to this point, up to stage gate 4, from the idea, the expenditure on the project is quite low. Maybe 1% of the total project cost, or maybe 2% at most. However, as you go to stage 5, which is the definition stage, and definitely later, the cost might start to go high, specifically if you need to outsource and go out to contractors to help you. Therefore, some management would require you to get some advanced funding if they cannot do the final funding at this point. What we usually recommend, final funding should be delayed until stage gate 5. You should not have the final approval until that point in time. That is the CAMMP position. Thank you again. Until next time.